I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think that Justin Trudeau is actually starting to crack under pressure. You can't miss it. You can't miss what's happening here in Canada. There are no pro-Trudeau flags. There's no pro-Trudeau protests. There's no anti-F Trudeau protests. Everybody seems to be in one way or another against Justin Trudeau. And it's really starting to bleed through in his press conferences. We're going to take a look at a series of videos from his latest press conference where he kind of snaps and has a bit of a meltdown. It's pretty funny. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this here. We're going to start off with this is right from Justin Trudeau's own X account. And we're going to take a look at the more in-depth version of this particular clip later on, but I just want to start off with this. Pierre Poilievre still can't denounce the conspiracy theorists or the white nationalists who support him. So let me help him with that.
I've been thinking about this in regards to Pierre Poilievre. Anyone who wants to be Prime Minister of this country needs to be clear with Canadians about whose votes he wants and who he stands with. If Pierre Poilievre wanted to be a responsible leader, I'll even give him the words. This is what he should say. I reject categorically the endorsement and the support of Diagolon and of Alex Jones. Because Diagolon is a violent white nationalist organization, and Alex Jones is a garbage conspiracy theorist. That's all Pierre Poilievre would have to say. But he won't say it. And that tells you about the kinds of choices he's making as a leader.
I'm pretty sure the RCMP has come out and they've said Diagolon is not a terrorist organization. But anyways, Justin Trudeau likes to just throw anything he can at the window, at Pierre Poilievre, at the wall, or whatever you want to say, and see if the shit sticks. And it doesn't seem like it is. And now, to add on to the lack of support that the Trudeau NDP government are having, you have stuff like this. Breaking public use in BC, public drug use in BC is banned. This includes in hospitals. The NDP are quickly walking back their disastrous policies before the fall election because British Columbia just recriminalized the use of drugs in public spaces. Wow, that is incredible. I mean, I think so. So all the homeless people out there or all of the crackheads out there, it's now illegal again for them to be using drugs, and it should not be supported or tolerated. So let's clean up the streets, right? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Why is the government... Why did the BC Premier, because that's who this is right here, this screenshot of him, why did he now come out and say that they are recriminalizing it? It's almost like decriminalizing certain drugs doesn't actually do any good for, a country. And speaking of do any good, let's take a look at the polls here. You got Conservatives still sitting at 207, bottom line of 176, top end of 231 for projected seats. They only need 172 seats. So even their bottom line, they are still a good ways above that. And 99% likely of winning the most seats, 98% likely of winning a majority government, 2% likely of winning a minority government, with nobody else anywhere near where the Conservatives are. And I do think that before we start to get closer to the summer break, which I believe is around June or something like that, you're going to start to see this number climb to 210, 220, and it might even go above and beyond that. But we'll have to wait and see how that appears. Now let's take a look at the actual press conference. I've got a series of clips pulled up. Let's just watch Trudeau have a bit of a meltdown. Here we go.
Prime Minister Murad Hamadi at The Logic. So you've talked about the gains tax change in your new budget in terms of cottages and second homes. But doctors and the founders of a lot of Canadian technology companies say that some of both of those groups will leave the country because of these changes that you're making. And you and your government have said you want more of both in this country, both doctors and technology companies. Do you have a plan for stopping the loss of these people to the US?
I think Canadians understand, more than perhaps any other country, that the success of this country relies on everyone having a real and fair chance to succeed. And right now, people are seeing very, very clearly that the system is not fair anymore for young people. When a generation before, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, knew that if they had a good job, they could buy a home and build a future and build equity that would carry them towards retirement. Young people right now don't see the economy that way. Far too many of them have given up on the idea of ever being able to own a home. They feel they're going to be stuck as renters for the rest of their life. And no matter how hard they work, they're not going to be able to get the same kinds of opportunities that their parents and grandparents were able to do. That's not just too bad for them. That is too bad for all of us. Right now, Gen Z and millennials represent the largest part of our workforce. And if they don't feel like their hard work is going to give them a good life, they are in danger of disconnecting, of sitting back, of not being the drivers of the economy of the future. That is what we are facing. And I tell you, you can talk to any successful, wealthy person across this country and ask them if they are worried that if they're living in a country where young people are successful, where young people can buy homes, where young people have good jobs and are optimistic about their future, that somehow wealthy people won't be able to thrive and succeed in an economy that is healthy and where everyone gets to succeed? That's not how it works. That's certainly not how it works in Canada. So yes, we are asking those for whom the system has worked very well, who have done well over these past years, to recognize that investing right now in the success of young people is not just a nice thing to do, it's essential to do for the future. And in regard specifically to doctors' pensions, I know there are a number of experts come forward to say there are simple tweaks they can make that can assure that they still have very good pensions when they retire. In terms of technology companies, we've actually created new opportunities and programs to gain even more with investments in startups and to do even better, because we do want to draw in more investment. We want more startups, and the investments we're making and the changes we're making around taxation is actually about incentivizing and rewarding those people who are investing in startups and creating more innovation and more opportunities.
It just, oh, I hate that. Oh my God, that stupid shit-eating grin that he does at the end where he says a bunch of crap and then he's like, huh. I freaking hate that, man. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. I'd like to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I feel like Trudeau is trying to appeal to a bunch of younger people to get a whole bunch of new votes, and it's just not working. People aren't buying it. I mean, at the end of the day, people have to pay their bills, right? It doesn't matter if you're a student. It doesn't matter if you're fresh out of school and getting into the workforce. It doesn't matter if you're in the workforce and you're 25, 30 years old and you're living with your parents, family, whatever, you're sharing rooms, whatever it is. At some point, at some time, you're going to have to go to the grocery store. You're going to have to pay rent. You're going to have to pay for your phone. You're going to have to pay for something. And when you exchange that money for said things, especially with food, you're going to realize, oi, that's a lot more than what I ever thought it was. It doesn't matter how many policies Justin Trudeau tries to come out with. He has made Canadians broke. You can mess with people's emotions. You can do a whole bunch of things. But one thing that people will never forget or forgive is making them broke and affecting their money. And not only has he done that, he's messed with people's emotions. He's gaslit people. He's created little prisons, right? It feels like we were in prison here in Canada for a very, very long time. And now there's all these weird new stories coming out that Trudeau is apparently trying to get people in prison before they commit a crime. Yeah, I know. It sounds outrageous, but apparently that's the new thing here in Canada. Anyways, let's take a look at another clip of this same press conference where we left off with Trudeau on a shit-eating grin face, and now we're starting off with the same thing.
I'm Alison Northcott with CBC. There's a video being shared online where you can see an OPP officer telling protesters, one wearing an F. Trudeau hat, which gate you entered at the Alliston event yesterday. Do you consider this a breach of duty, and is it being investigated?
As you well know, I won't comment on operational or security matters, but I am sure that the appropriate folks are looking into whatever reports these are. I think it's important to emphasize and understand that the right to protest is really important. In a democracy, your freedom to disagree with the government is something we perhaps take for granted here in Canada, but that they cannot take for granted in far too many places around the world. The ability to throw out insults at the person of the Prime Minister is something that is protected here in Canada and is really important for people to be able to express themselves. That's really key. At the same time, however, politicians need to be very, very careful that they don't feed into divisions amongst Canadians, polarizations, or conspiracy theories. And I've been thinking about this.
Hold on a second. This guy literally divided the country like it has never been divided before. Wow, he made friends and families turn on themselves and each other in a way that we didn't even know was really humanly possible. Justin Trudeau is like almost directly responsible for every bad thing that is happening right now in Canada. It's insane. And then he has the audacity to talk about other people and their divisive political points. Bro, you screwed over millions of people, and you're going to sit here and talk about how somebody else has a better campaign, how he's being divisive? I don't think so. I don't think anybody's buying this.
In regards to Pierre Poilievre, anyone who wants to be Prime Minister of this country needs to be clear with Canadians about whose votes he wants and who he stands with. If Pierre Poilievre wanted to be a responsible leader, I'll even give him the words. This is what he should say. I reject categorically the endorsement and the support of Diagolon and of Alex Jones. Because Diagolon is a violent white nationalist organization, and Alex Jones is a garbage conspiracy theorist. That's all Pierre Poilievre would have to say. But he won't say it. And that tells you about the kinds of choices he's making as a leader.
Yeah, very, very weird. That says a lot about the choices he's making as a leader. What about you, Trudeau? What about you and the choices you've consciously made? And speaking of choices and wrong choices, next up we're going to wrap everything up here with this Minister Stephen Guilbeault comments on progress of global plastics treaty talks. Yeah, this guy's back in the news. Let's take a look at this.
So I just met with the chair of the INC, Mr. Vallas, Ambassador Vallas, and he also feels that things are going really well. So I think that, you know, this objective of cleaning up 70% of the text is still very realistic and still very possible here in Ottawa. I didn't ask. I suppose I could ask my negotiators to give me an idea. But what I'm hearing, and it's not just from Canadian negotiators, but from negotiators from all around the world that I've had a chance to sit down and talk to, like, everyone is feeling very hopeful and very optimistic.
And Mr. Trudeau, I understand that the U.S. and Japan are still pushing back on production cuts. What do you think is needed to bring them on board?
I think, I mean, the purpose of these negotiations is that so we can try and figure out what are the best ways to achieve the common goal that we have. So 2 years ago, close to 200 nations, by consensus, agreed that they wanted to have a legally binding plastics treaty by the end of this year to phase out plastic pollution by 2040. Everyone agrees with this. The United States, Japan, China, Saudi Arabia, the European Union, Canada, obviously. So now we're trying to figure out how do we get there and what are the best means of getting there. And we are starting these conversations here because we only got the draft text at the end of the last negotiating session. So I think it's premature to say we have to land this piece of the negotiating text, otherwise we won't have an ambitious treaty. There's a lot of things in there that could ensure that this is an ambitious treaty, and whether or not there is a production cap, I don't know, and this is a conversation that needs to happen, but I would hate for us to think that it's the only thing we need to do, because we know we need to ban certain single-use plastics that can't be recycled. We know we need to do better when it comes to recycling and the circular economy. We know we need to do a better job of cleaning up our oceans that are filled with plastic pollution. So there's no silver bullet here to fight plastic pollution, and let's look at the entire picture of where we need to tackle plastic pollution at every step of the way.
This is coming from a guy who just the other day did a press conference, and he said that not all plastics are the same. If I'm not mistaken, I can't exactly paraphrase based off of memory, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe he said anything that's electric vehicle related is good plastics because it's helping fight climate change. And anything that's related to testing kits for you know what is good because it helps with medical relief, but all other plastics are bad. It seems like these politicians are sitting on a high horse and they can spew whatever nonsense that they want, and they think that we're just going to sit here and be like, oh, that's great. Thank you so much for the awesome speech. Oh, yes, you're right, and I'm wrong. I don't know, man. That's the beautiful thing about social media is people can come together on a platform or in a comment section or on a thread or whatever it is, and they can all share their opinions for everybody to see. And that's going to be kind of the downfall of this Liberal Party, the NDP party, and this type of government is the people are kind of able to take their power back in a way that we haven't really ever had. So it's not really taking our power back. It's actually gaining a power that we've never really had. The mainstream media is used to printing papers and not having people get together. If you think, 20, 30 years ago, people weren't really able to get together on social media or online. They had to have some sort of town hall meeting or meet at a diner or whatever it is that people did 30 years ago, right? I don't really know. I was born 30 years ago. But now you can just sit on your phone, sit on your computer. You can watch these on your television or whatever it is that you're doing on a tablet. And you can scroll through the comments and see what people have to say. And it's incredible because the people actually make a difference. We're the ones who are voting. We're the ones who are able to communicate with each other and share ideas and talk shit about these people essentially and try to hold them accountable. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about anything related to the video. That's where we're going to end it. On your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Bye for now.